Welcome back to some Monster Hunter Portable 3rd Edition. Today we are going through some of the higher rank quests that are available to us. There's a few items that we need to start making our way through. It'll largely be okay, I think. We'll see. Oh, right. I should have a drink. Sure. All right. So today we have to deal first on these 7-star quests. We have to do not this nibble snarf, but this nibble snarf. So that's fine. I'm just double checking. Okay, we need one more mega potion. I think we're largely okay otherwise. Yeah. Okay. Let's go see how badly this goes. Nibble Snarf is not my worst monster, but it's definitely not my best either. Just gonna move the mic in a little bit here. There we go. But if they stay more or less separate, maybe it'll be all right. Being in this heat in this jacket would is probably a worst nightmare of mine. I've mentioned it before, I don't tolerate the heat very well. And I don't know, I've been, I guess what you could call desert adjacent, but I've never been like in the middle of a desert or anything like that. I've never had that sort of experience. I guess being Canadian, why would I? Maybe there are deserts in Canada, you know, like small ones or something. I kind of doubt it. But there are definitely a lot of mountains, swamps, plains, you know, arboreal forests and all that type of thing. Tundras. I'm much more comfortable with a tundra. You know, I think everyone, they have like a region they could try to survive in. And, you know, some people, that region is a downtown. You know, there's some folks who don't get out at all. And if I can even speak to that, oh no. I knew it was going to happen, but whatever. I don't understand people who don't like the outdoors. Like, it's probably one of those things that like, ooh, I should have run faster. Am I gonna get healed by my cat? Okay, cool. It's definitely one of those things that I don't understand. Like, you know, I get it if you're like born in a city and you've never been out or never had the opportunity, so you don't know. But for people to be like, no, I don't like forests, I don't like the mountains, I don't like looking at the ocean, that to me, I don't know, suggests you're not enjoying life. You're not finding joy in stuff that you should find joy in. Because you don't have to like everything outside. I don't. I hate mosquitoes. You know, if it's hot out and it's humid, it's gross. But to just eschew the entirety of nature as a preference, that's crazy. It's like not liking animals. You know, like, yeah, I don't know. To make a statement like that, I feel like you need to meet every single animal. There are definitely some some unique people when it comes to stuff like that. And again, I guess it's just because, like, I'm a dude living in Canada. The options for the outdoors and seeing amazing animals are so great that you kind of get spoiled. You know, it's like living in Italy or something like that. I think Italy is one of those luxury vacation destinations that a lot of people love and dream of and can't wait to see when they have enough money to go there, because you can't. I would not recommend going to Italy with little money. You know, it's an expensive country, and it's a country where I think you want to have the full experience. You know, like, I think, you know, you could go to London in England, and while there's money to be spent in England and London, don't get me wrong, you know, it's especially after the Brexit thing, I think it's more expensive there. And I'm not saying you can't drop cash, but I'm also saying, like, you know, that you could get a hostel, bum around the city on the tube, go to Madame Tussauds, or you could go to Camden Town and walk around and go into some pubs, and you can still have a pretty good time without having to, like, inherently break the bank. I feel like, while there are, of course, hostels in Italy and stuff like that, the experience I would want to have in Italy, I feel like, couldn't be done on a small budget. I would want to be, you know, in a restaurant 3 times a day. I'd want to be buying nice clothes. I'd want to be going to pretty places and taking tours on rivers, and, you know, going out to the Alps are close to Italy, right? You know, there's a lot of things I'd like to do there that probably couldn't be done on a small budget. And there's a few other countries like that, if I'm being honest. Any Nordic country, if I'm being honest with you, because, like, these Nordic countries have relatively small populations compared to, like, you know, Canada or the States or something like that. You know, they're well, actually, a lot of countries out east, if you grow up in North America, they feel small, and then, like, our sense of scale gets kind of warped. And, you know, there's an old adage for that. It's like 100 miles in Europe is long, 100 years in North America is a long time. And it's the inverse of in these places. You know, 100 years in Europe is like recent history, more or less. You know, some 100-year-old castle. Oh, that's not even an old one. Whatever, right? A 100-year-old pub. Like, oh, you know, it's only been opened up a few years ago. Here, since it's a newer country, 100 years is actually quite substantial. But because we're so much bigger, you know, to go 100 miles or 100 kilometers or whatever. I don't use miles. I don't understand them, if I'm being honest. If you want to go 100 kilometers, that's, you know, probably something a fair amount of people have done or would view as reasonable. You go 100 kilometers in some countries in Europe, it would be like you've left the country or you've gotten from one end to the absolute other end. And, you know, I think there's like some funny stories that come out of that. Like, people will come to Calgary, or they'll go to Vancouver, or they'll go to Toronto, and they'll be like, oh, well, we're just here in Toronto. Can we go see, you know, the West Edmonton Mall? Can we drive over there today? And people will be like, that is 4 provinces away, 5 provinces away, bro. No. They're like, oh, well, what do you mean? It can't be that far. And it's just like, the scale isn't understood. The country is so big. And you know, that's just how it goes. I would prefer to live in a smaller country with old history if I had a choice of like where I was born, but you don't. And anyways, all that's to say that like the smaller countries have also done a lot better. If you look at the province of Alberta here in Canada, there was arguably it's here to a lesser degree. There's a boom bust process in the province, and it rotates around oil and gas. Now there was a point in time where Alberta was making a lot of money from oil and gas, you know, at the peak of that process. And they kind of did some really dumb things with the money. Instead of reinvesting it infrastructurally, setting up welfare programs, setting up, you know, long-term support, making education more accessible, kind of, you know, using the opportunity as a cheat code to get ahead for the people who live here. It was mostly squandered. You know, everyone got a second F-150, and then that was kind of the end of the discussion. They didn't spend the money wisely, in my opinion. And then you compare Alberta to other countries that have had, well, you know, whatever. Some countries are the size of Alberta. That's the thing, again, with the scale. It's like one of our provinces could be 2 or 3 European countries sometimes, given the size. So Alberta had this crazy income, and then you look at like Norway, and they had a oil boom. And they have, as I understand it, they have more ocean wells. But they made a lot of money, and they reinvested in themselves to the point where, to this day, they still have a very good quality of life. People aren't as far divorced from the benefits they had back during the boom. I believe school is heavily discounted, if not free, for citizens. You know, jobs pay really well. And it's just one of those things where it's so frustrating. Especially here now, like in Alberta, there's this belief that the loss of oil and gas is a viable industry. You know, and it's degrading all over the world. Is a political outcome. And I can, like, arguably see the perspective in that, like, if you're not supporting it, you're not going to be able to make money in it. That's a given. But the reason it's not getting support is because the deposits and the reserves of this oil and gas have been declining since the 90s, and people have known that. And, you know, it's no secret that bitumen deposits and the viability of things like oil sands were known at this point 20, 30 years ago. It was not a surprise to anyone who actually was in the industry high enough up to get those reports. But the people who weren't, like, we'll say, like, at the executive level of those companies, so people who were, you know, doing the work on the rigs, going out to camp, doing the 16, you know, 18-hour days in those fields, they were under the impression that this is a lifelong career. You know, you could be a rough deck for as long as your back still works. And yeah, were they lied to? Totally, in my opinion. Why were they lied to? Well, because it's a crap job, and you want people to do it. So you think, okay, we'll set them up with this belief that it'll be a long-term thing, it'll be safe, it'll continue to pay for their lives at this, you know, extreme. And it just wasn't ever going to be the case. And now with the larger scale migration towards electrical vehicles across a lot of producers, we're in a place where it's becoming less and less valid. And it's tough because there's people who are really committed to not making that change, so they vote for anyone that says, oh, okay, well, we're gonna bring oil and gas back. And people have been trying to do that for a really long time here in the province, and it's not gonna take off the way that they think it will. It can't. So you just have this cycle of disappointment, you know, with new government forms. They say they're gonna bring oil and gas back. They don't, because it's not a political choice. You can't just align with oil and gas and then, okay, now it's viable. Now the global economy has a desire for it at the same level it did before. Ooh. So, you know, it's not how that works. So you end up in the situation where after those terms pass and the government that tried to bring oil and gas back didn't succeed, the next government of the same party will come by and be like, oh no, but we actually can. We just didn't have enough time. And then the people who have been out of a job for 10 years because they refuse to retrain are like, oh, well, now I can finally work. Thank God. I'll vote for these people, even though I voted for them last time and it didn't work. What is this? Sunk cost fallacy. I've spent this amount of time waiting, so if I stop waiting, all that time I've already spent is wasted. The fallacy of that is the time is wasted no matter what you do. Oh well. I just want to live in a place where people want to take care of each other. You know, it's a weird thing because I would be probably placed somewhere on the left side of the political spectrum nowadays, but I prefer to be in the center. I'm one of those people that would like to give any amount of candidates an equal shake, review their policy, review their platform, review the team they're going to bring in, because that's another mistake a lot of people make politically, right? Like, you're only looking at the spokesperson for something as compared to the cabinet, the ministers, the whatever. Who are their advisors going to be? What type of groups are they going to bring in to do consulting? Are they going to bring in groups to do consulting? You know, if they do, how are they going to pay for it? There's so many elements to politics that I think, and intentionally so, you know, there's a lot of, I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but there's a lot of like powers that be that don't want you to look into those details because they work against them. Or, you know, uninformed voters are easier to manipulate voters, stuff like that. That's very fair and legitimate. I wouldn't say it's morally good, but I can understand the line of logic. Anyways, I would prefer to be center, is what I'm saying. I have, you know, some beliefs that veer on one side and probably veer on the other, but I don't even really like the idea of sides. I just think we should determine the best ideas and proceed with them against bias. You know, this platform is going to help 65% of people. This platform's going to help 60. I want to vote for the 65. Simple as that. But nowadays, it's kind of like, do you think all people should be considered equal? Do you think we should actively manipulate and take advantage of those who are already disadvantaged in society, or do you not? And if you veer on one side of those sorts of opinions, well now, you know, instead of being a center person, you're a far left person. Because the mere idea of, you know, distributing equal rights and taking care of as many people as you can, which is the point of government. That's why we formed it. It's, you know, you look back at tribal societies. Why do you have a council of different people with different skills? What's the point? You know, why do you collect wisdom from ages before. It's just to make things as good for everyone as they can. You know, why invent agricultural systems if it's not to feed as many people as possible? If you only need 5 pieces of fruit, you can just keep a regular old tree in place. If you need to feed 5,000, you need to build a farm. So there's a dissonance there that I find frustrating because I've read a lot about it too, this dynamic. There's a book, Why We're Polarized, by Ezra Klein. I highly recommend it if you're curious about this type of thing, And it's a very American-focused book, but being a Canadian, American politics heavily influence our politics here simply by virtue of being on the TV more, being fairly well known. The way that American politics are showcased and distributed through news networks and TV shows and all that stuff, it becomes just as prolific here as it is there, except for we can't vote on it. So, just a frustrating situation. Because again, I would much rather, be able to just take the best and leave the rest. There are some weird issues that people are getting persnickety about too. It's like, I don't agree inherently with the restrictive sort of gun control that's happening here in Canada. I don't own guns. I don't really think anyone needs guns. But I think it's against the facts for the purpose that they're bringing in the gun laws. So, there's an umbrella statement that a lot of the rules that are coming out here in Canada for gun laws are to prevent, criminals and prevent crime. And I think that's a good initiative. But the issue is most of the guns here in Canada, as far as I can tell, are coming from the States. They're being smuggled over borders. I think the crossing between, what is it, Detroit and Ontario or something like that? I don't know. There's a water crossing somewhere out east where you can, bring things across relatively easily. Oh, damn it. I really got to stop being behind them. So there's this whole, idea that, okay, well, we're gonna make the rules here for people who are already abiding the rules, and we're gonna make that stricter. And it's not like we have an American system for how you can get guns. You can't, here in Canada, just go and pick one up at a Walmart. Walmart sells some guns, at least last I checked. They might not here in Canada anymore. They used to when I was younger. But you can't go even to a gun store and just same day pick something up. There's a process. You have to have certain licenses. Concealed weapons here in Canada basically aren't a thing. There's 2 licenses. There's a concealed weapons license, and there's something called an RPAL, which is a restricted weapons license. And there's some things that even if you have both of those, you still can't get. I don't think we sell fully automatic rifles here in Canada at all. I think even if you have a restricted weapons license, the only way to have a fully automatic rifle is to have grandfathered it in. So, your grandfather fought in the war. When he was back in the day, he shipped his M16 home in parts to his parents. He put the parts back together in Canada, and now, he legally owns that rifle. That's one of the few ways you could probably have one. I think even if you have a semi-automatic rifle here in Canada, you have restricted magazines, so you can only have a 4 or 5 round magazine. Handguns are just very, very, very difficult to find a good reason for. You do need a restricted weapons license to have them. And as far as I'm aware, restricted weapons licenses require a few different checks. So you have to be a certain age. I don't think you can own one if you're a criminal. You can't get them without passing a evaluation to determine you're not going to shoot somebody in the mall as soon as you get it. checks and balances already built into the firearm system here in Canada, where restricting it further for people who are abiding those rules, you know, like you can't even, here in Canada, you can't transit a weapon outside of a case. Oh, damn it. I keep on making this mistake. You have to have it in the back of your car. It has to be in a locked case. It has to be something that can't be accessed by children. So typically locked, hard shell. And there's a few other restrictions as far as I'm aware. So like you, even at home, you know, in your own house, you can't have an open firearm. You have to have it locked and stored. The lock has to meet a few requirements. I think it has to be locked behind a code or a key. It has to be something that is resistant to destructive opening attempts. So like you can't put it in a cardboard box and be like, it's set. You know, it has to be in a gun safe or something like that. And those are all things I agree with. But what I think we should do is focus on dealing with the illegal guns that are coming into the country. I think that's going to be a larger benefit if we're focusing on crime. Because I think a lot of people understand that too. I think even the party that is making the rule for some reason believes that it's a good political move. And, you know, I don't know. I don't see the reports. Maybe it is. Maybe that's really important to their base, just restricting even legal firearm ownership. I don't really believe in firearms for self-defense, because I think, you know, firearms are a difficult tool to use. You know, they're popular, and I think people believe they understand more about them than they do. And I'm not saying there aren't firearm experts out there. I'm just saying, even if you're a really, really good marksman, that does not mean you understand how to perform in a combat situation. It does not mean you have, you know, live fire experience or the ability to stop the shaking when adrenaline goes and cortisol rushes through when you can't keep your hands straight. You know, there's a whole other dynamic between learning to shoot well and learning to shoot someone well. Because, like, even if somebody breaks in, you know, what is your process there? Are you just going to go whole hog and anyone breaks in, you're immediately going to go at them? Because that's not legal. We don't have castle doctrine here in Canada. Now, there have been some changes very recently that I do agree with. And this is where, again, I say I'm, based on policy alone, I'm actually somewhere in the middle when it comes to politics. Because I do think everyone should be taken care of. I don't have any prejudices against certain, you know, gender identity, sexual expressions, race or whatever, religion. I don't care. People are people are people. Anyone can be good, anyone can be crappy. But when it comes to, you know, self-defense, there was a ruling, and it was a sad story, actually, where this person, whatever it was, they used to live in the house, they knew someone who used to live in the house, their dealer used to live in the house, something like that. But they kept on breaking into this family's home. And they did it a couple of times, and the police would come pick them up, and then they'd get carted off to jail. And the justice system here in Canada is not good. You know, police will do their job, they'll help you. But keeping people in jail, not releasing, you know, high-risk offenders, giving appropriate sentences, not giving sentences that are informed by reparations, we'll say. We're not good at that. We're not giving just punishments, in my opinion. So in this case, you know, that person, no. They kept on breaking into the home. And the final time, they came home, and the door was open, and the dad went in, and they started to fight. And the person started to fight the family, fight the dad. And throughout this struggle, the dad managed to get his legal shotgun. And, you know, long story short, the person was put down. And that wasn't until, you know, the dad took a few hits to the head with like a baseball bat. The mother and daughter had to go hide in an RV just to be safe. And it was a traumatic thing. Dude was probably just going out to get groceries. Now he has to come home and shoot this guy. And he got arrested initially because they had to, you know, make sure things were okay. Somebody got killed. He went through the due process and he was released. Now, this became a larger thing as well, where, you know, we don't have inherently, at least at the time, lethal force in self-defense is very, very difficult to justify in Canada prior to this incident. Now, I believe there's statute or whatever for this being a legitimate use case, and in that case, I agree. I think, you know, that person was putting everyone's family at harm. They were breaking in. They were mentally unwell, and as horrible as it is in that type of circumstance, you know, maybe that's the right move. I don't know what this has to do with Nimble Snarf, but whatever. When it eventually changed, so now I think, you know, there's a little bit more justification, wiggle room in the Canadian legal system for defending yourself with lethal force. And in a completely justified situation, that's, in my opinion, a good thing. But for the most part, you know, that person did get hurt. It did take a few instances. And, you know, it could have not worked out. You know, it wasn't like this is a flawless situation where somebody broke in, they immediately produced their firearm, and then all risk was averted by the use of that firearm. It really had to escalate to a point of endangering the family, physically harming the father himself. I'm gonna go get some rations. And proceeding through a lot of uncomfortable aspects of the process up until, you know, now the person is dead and the family is safe. But there's still, you know, people who train in the military for it and know what they're going to be doing. You know, like, I'm going to be going to fight the enemy. I'm going to be possibly killing people. Soldiers still get traumatic stress and PTSD and flashbacks, and they have, you know, negative repercussions from that interaction with combat. And even though it's a diatribe, you know, I've been reading a lot about this. I love psychology and stuff. We're finding more and more and more that the prerequisite for traumatic stress that lingers, that damages your brain, that affects how you approach situations, that can cause anxiety, depression, you know, panic disorders, is way lower than we thought it was. Way, 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 way lower. Like, you know, there's a belief even a few years ago that to induce legitimate post-traumatic stress, you had to be in a combat situation. You had to have killed somebody, been shot at, been blown up in a mine. And what we're finding now is that even small interactions, you know, someone says something mean to you when you're a kid and you just take it the wrong way, that can lead to lifelong traumatic stress. It can reform the pathways in your brain about how you process something. And it's happening constantly. Unfortunately, too. It's not a great thing, but it's the reality of it. So it just further goes on to the idea that while you may be a really good marksman and you could be fully licensed and trained with your firearm, there's more that goes with defending your life than just shooting somebody real good. Now, you know, there's a practical debate there. Which is better, to be severely harmed or possibly killed, or to have some post-traumatic stress? And, you know, obviously one is better than the other. I know which one I would pick.
It's just, it's a big discussion. And for that reason, I don't really think weapons are good for everyday self-defense. I think strong security systems, meeting the threat at where it's at, not over-escalating, quick police response time, stuff like that is possibly better. I do think preventing the need for self-defense starts with the welfare, support, and education programs that affect people, especially in low-income situations, right? I think prevention is more essential than reaction. So if we can focus on reducing the number of people who, for whatever, maybe legitimate reasons, like they're starving, or they don't have a home, or they have never been brought up to understand elements of society, you know, those concerns are more prevalent compared to making sure that when or if somebody makes a negative choice, commits a crime, we can react strongly enough to deter them. Now, you know, there's thought to be had there, like, should we invent different types of self-defense mechanisms, you know? Big old flamethrower on the front door. No. I don't know what the best solution is for something like that, because, you know, I see the validity in I'm threatened, my family is threatened, I want to make this stop. And it's not like, you know, hand-to-hand combat is incredibly risky and largely not worth it. And I mean, even if you have a weapon, you know, like if you're fighting somebody with a baseball bat, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like that. Unless you get them real good, right in the head, right off the bat, or break a shoulder, break an elbow, you're going to have the person trying to grab that weapon away from you. It will largely be successful unless the you know, strength dynamic is incredibly skewed one way. If you try and stab someone, you know, like, knives are very deadly weapons, and, you know, I think they are misunderstood in essence of how deadly they are. But you start a knife fight, and if the other person has a knife, you're both getting stabbed. Unless you are some, like, master knife fighter, Krav Maga, John Wick level dude. And even then, John Wick gets stabbed and shot a whole bunch, you know? So, like, if our fictional heroes, the highest level of skill, are still every now and then catching a bullet or getting shanked, what are your chances? What are my chances, you know? Like, I carry a multi-tool basically wherever I go, because there's, you know, I grew up with somewhat rural parents and camping, and I've done kitchen work and stuff, or warehouse work, where, you know, just being able to, like, flip out a knife or a screwdriver or a pair of pliers or something is really useful. I find reasons to use a multi-tool every day of my life, and I'm just accustomed to that reality. But I would seriously hesitate to use a knife on my multi-tool as a weapon. Because, again, it's short, so it's not going to have a strong effect right away. It's only like a 3-inch blade, maybe 4. I don't even think 4. You know, if somebody gets it from me, now I'm getting shanked, and I don't want that. I think, you know, if no knives are involved in a situation and it's going to become violent, keep the knives out of the situation. You will thank yourself, because, you know, there's videos and showcases of it out there in the world. If you catch a knife in the wrong place, you will very quickly collapse into a puddle of yourself. Anyways, what'd we get? King Talisman, meh. Stamina recovery and stamina. That's pretty cool. Alrighty, Roo, we are back. The only downside, and I say this, you know, not maliciously. The only downside of going through the high rank guild quests is that because everything has so much health, it's not a whole lot of hunts per video. And that's, you know, that's life. But, you know, it means there's a slightly slower pace moving forwards. Now, yeah, I need to buy some potions for my stock at home. All right. Hi. Now, this is good. Tundra and Volcano. I could probably do some grinding for the next sword that I need. Maybe that's something I'll do. All right, so I do need to fight the Green Nargacuga, but I just don't want to right now. So I'm not going to. Now, apparently, funny enough, there's actually a very small amount of required quests in this situation, which I find interesting. I do need to... What, do I have to hunt this Barioth to get the next Barioth? I don't know. Either way, I think I need to fight this Rathlos, and let's just see what happens. I have a horribly optimized set for fire, but when it comes to... Oh, you know what? Oh, I probably can't leave, can I? No. Okay, I was gonna say, can I grab a Farcaster just in case I need it? But I doubt I have some just, like, purchased, eh? No, I don't. All right. That is a-okay. I'm sure it'll work out. Oh, okay, there's two monsters here. I wonder what they are. Yeah, let's go and we'll go poke. I don't know, I also just got charged my electricity bill, and ooh, it is spicy this month. I don't really know why. I don't know, man. The cost of living is just getting insane nowadays. I'm sure it's the same everywhere, you know, things are just... Oh, okay, it's an Argyros. Well, alright. Yeah, the cost of living just insane. You think, like, you know, my partner works as well, so it's not just like one income in my household. And still, I feel like I'm not as far ahead as I was hoping to be. You know, I've worked many years now in the software industry, and I just figured I would be further ahead. You know, I've gotten consistent promotions, and I've been able to, oh god, move through things, and, you know, I've been quite effective in my roles, and even after, like, doubling my salary, I'm still just not where I was hoping I would be, and things keep on getting more expensive. It really does, you know, feel like being trapped in a degree. And I hate it because I don't want to feel like I'm making excuses. I also just, like, I have to acknowledge the reality that sometimes things don't go the way you want them, or things are more expensive than they could or should be. And, you know, it's just wholeheartedly disappointing because I'm not somebody that craves an excess of ridiculous luxuries. You know, I'm not out here going, oh, I need a mansion and 3 yards and 6 cars and a double-decker garage. You know, I couldn't care less about that stuff. I'm much more interested in a moderate-sized home. It doesn't even need to be massive, just something reasonable, something that I can have an office, you know, a little backyard or a reasonable backyard for my dog. Oh man, I'm just chasing this Rathalos everywhere and having no luck. And yet, yeah, even then it feels like it's a crazy ask in today's society to, like, want to own a home. I don't drive, and the reasons are very well spread out around this channel. I don't like driving. I actually, you know, as silly as it is, I get road rage as a pedestrian. I get road rage if I'm like riding a bike. You know, like yesterday my wife was like, hey, do you want to... I had to go and run out and get some dog food, and I agreed to do it, and I was fine with that. But I was going to walk, and she's like, oh, you can take the bike and you'll be that much quicker. And I'm like, I can't be in bike lanes. I don't like operating vehicles. I just, you know, if somebody walks into the bike lane or goes slow or takes the wrong turn or something like that, like I want to throw the bike at them. And I acknowledge that is an unhealthy response. But it just, like, there's something about operating a vehicle that triggers my lizard brain. And it's just one of those, like, anyone who denies any of the rules of the road just sets me off. And you know, it's not healthy or safe. So I just try and avoid the situation altogether. Ah, darn it. But even going beyond that, you know, I find that actually affording a car and paying for a car is one of the reasons that a lot of people end up in negative financial situations. Because they're just so exorbitant as a cost. And then if you're a young person, you know, the cost of insurance is absolutely insane. Oh, I didn't mean to leave there, but that's okay. So for a lot of reasons, you know, I just don't believe in driving. I don't want to do it. I think when I've tried, you know, I've done lessons and I've practiced driving with other people. The mechanical aspect of driving is all right. You know, I could drive straight and stay in my lines and not speed and stuff like that. You know, I could operate a vehicle, but I just don't want to. So besides the point, I cut that out of my life. And I feel like it's one of the only reasons that, like, I can have some of the luxuries that I want to have. Because whenever I look at people who are, you know, driving and buying cars and doing stuff like that, they're in a situation that it just seems untenable to me. You know, nonetheless, basic stuff like gas and regular maintenance, I think a lot of people skip those things because, like, it's this luxury they can only afford a portion of. Yeah, I'm getting devastated when I get hit by fire, but I knew that was going to happen. Ah, well, you know, every generation has its issues, but it's, I was looking into some stuff yesterday that was saying from a lot of metrics, you know, we are worse off now than they were during the Great Depression. It's harder to buy a home. Your money has less purchasing power. Now, I mean, like in the Great Depression, people didn't have much money, if at all. But now, you know, you can have money and still be in a Great Depression. And that sucks. It feels like the promise of society has skipped us. Because that's kind of what is what you hear growing up. You know, work hard, keep going to school, pursue your passions, and then eventually all that's going to evolve and culminate into a satisfying quality of life. But what's happened is, you know, hard work is trivialized, and you're expected to give away more of yourself than you should be reasonably expected to give away. The money you get doesn't buy you the quality of life you'd hope for. And then everything in between is a risk, a sacrifice, or a loss. Oh, damn. Yeah, I hate those things. Like, this Rathlos is way better than first-gen Rathlos, but still, like, your instant swoop away, one frame, move your entire body, and shoot a fireball thing. Like, okay. Okay, bro. Sure. And just as well, you know, I have no kids, and I do not want kids. I'm actually going to pretty soon surgically make it impossible to do that, because like that's how little I want kids. Like, I am 100% okay with having a surgery that removes the potential of having kids altogether. Because, you know, I think some people are like, oh, you know, I want kids, but just not right now, or I want to do some things first. I don't even want to be around those people's kids when they have them, you know? Like, when my friends start having children, you know, people you know from high school or whatever, I remove those friendships. I'm like, okay, I don't even want to see these pictures. For a lot of reasons, you know, every single picture of a kid is the same as every other picture of a kid, especially like babies. It's like we should just really, as humanity, take a few pictures, one of every, you know, possible look a baby can have, and then, okay, there you go. That's baby pictures. We're done. We don't need more. They're not going to change. This is what babies look like. Okay, move on. And just be done with that whole situation. But, you know, if you were the type of person that didn't feel that way, and, you know, good on them. If you wanted to have children nowadays, you're fucked. You know? You're just not going to have a good quality of life anymore, unless you're incredibly well off. And even then, you know, if you say, you know, like $1 million house is kind of extravagant, but I was reading just this figure recently that was like, you know, the amount of people who could afford a $1 million house and meet the mortgage payments and do the down payment and hit those accommodations is like 4.5% of people, you know, of income earners. What is that figure? You know, like, sure, nobody needs $1 million house, but with the way that money is working, you know, how far are things going to degrade until every house costs $1 million? Until no one can afford to buy anything, even a little crap shack. I don't know. It's a whole lot of frustration. Because it's, you know, there's the other side of things too, where with the increased efficiency and technology, you know, like you have knowledge workers, and they are doing monolithically more amounts of work than their predecessors, just because of the ability to be so much more efficient. Oh, damn it. I hate that they faked out the landing. Whatever. I just don't like that at all. I really wish Rathlos just landed instead of did this, like, out of nowhere swoop into a fireball. And I get it, like, from a combat perspective, all right. But it's just frustrating. Yeah. So, you know, we're making less money, we're working harder, we're doing more. But despite that, we have less purchasing power. And, you know, people have started to snowball with their wealth. Some people are so well off that they are purchasing things that they don't need just to own them. They're buying systems. They're buying infrastructure. They're taking away, you know, what they had, or taking what they had and kind of closing the door behind themselves. So I don't really know what to do about that, you know, like, even I'm in a situation where, like, even though I work a full-time job, I'm doing a lot of projects, and I don't really bring expectations into my projects because I feel like that's a good way to disappoint yourself. But there is always that hope of, like, hey, maybe this will make some supplemental money for me someday. Maybe this will be able to support or fill in the gaps where my full-time technical position can't. As disappointing as that statement is. And it is, you know, weird too, where, you know, you look back in time, if, you know, like, my dad was my age and he had my job and he was alive because my dad is dead. He would have been in a fantastic position. He probably would have been able to buy a home, raise a family with a stay-at-home mom, do all that stuff, and without major concerns. But, you know, you go ahead whatever number of years, and it's just not viable. It's not the design of the system anymore. Oh, damn it. Yeah, I really hope I don't biff on this fight. I haven't lost a Rathlos fight in a long time. I was just recently watching a show. Kind of, you know, it makes me think of this situation too when talking about it. The show is called Made, and, you know, if you know, it's an interesting show, and it's a pretty well done show, and it discusses domestic violence and shows some of the realities of that. And unfortunately, you know, my dad's dead because he sucked, and he was an alcoholic and addict. So there's a lot of things that I saw on that show that resonated with the experience that I saw my mom having with my dad. Besides the point, it's a good show, but it shows how impossibly stacked against you things are. There's like a running tally in the show of how much money she has, and, you know, she goes to do some basic things and it's just gone. The currency is devastated. Wow, Rathlos, can you like stay somewhere for longer than 5 seconds? What is this, bro? There's a... Okay, you know what? This is a whole other thing too, but I can't believe how little people in the States get paid. It's to the point where, like, when I hear it and see it, it's actively horrifying. Like $2 minimum wages in some places if you're a server. Employers will actively underschedule you so they don't have to pay benefits. Just like, what a horrible, horrible situation. And people will defend it too. It's like, what the heck? But it's really disappointing to see how hard it is to oh wow, I'm gonna cart again, I bet. Yeah, crazy disappointing to see where things are at with stuff like that. How common it is to just not be able to get ahead. How little money, you can make for an honest day's work. And then, if you're in the States, you don't have health care. I mean, you have hospitals, but I wouldn't call what they have health care. It's the availability to go to a hospital is not the same as being supported by a healthcare system. And I don't know all the fine details of Medicare and Medicaid, but I know that those programs are constantly taking cuts, and premiums that should be being given to people, or accommodations for people who are working challenging required positions are being cut. And I don't really understand the mindset, like, not to make this some weird discussion about healthcare, but I guess it already is, so whatever. This is a political episode. You look at the cost of the American military, for example, and then you look at what they're spending, oh damn it, on healthcare. It's infinitesimal. It's barely a scratch in that budget. And, okay, like, we get the benefit of America being this big military, too. Here in Canada, there's the obvious implication that if something happened, our allies from the South would use their 20 million tanks and would probably be involved, so long as they're not the aggressor. But, I was just reading how there's one state is trying to outlaw free school lunches for kids. What? I don't get it, like, and this is, it's the same political faction that would say, they're pro-life when the abortion discussion comes up. But they're clearly not pro-good life. They're pro-subsistence survival. And it doesn't compute to my sensibilities. You'd figure you'd want the best society you can raise, the most, enabled children, the most access, the most rights, the more food in their stomach. You figure that would be a point of pride, in my opinion. I'll look at what our kids eat, and they eat it for free when they're going to school for free. And yet, it seems to be going the other way, where it's about trying to take away from them. And I don't know, man. It's frustrating too, because there's not really many people. There's not a lot of legitimate bootstrap pulling, if you know what I mean here. There's a lot of people who say, oh, you got to keep them hungry so they have a desire to earn. But like, what? With a kid? Come on, man. Like, the fuck? Let him be a kid. It's craziness. And even then, you know, like in my country, I started working when I was 13 years old. I've been working for, you know, by the time I was 23, I'd been working for 10 years already. And even then, you know, it's not like that was a good thing. Oh, come on. Okay, my incredible lack of fire resistance is clearly not ideal in this situation. Maybe I'll cart. You know, it might happen. I hope I don't die. I don't really want to have to redo this fight. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. Because this Rathalos isn't really even showing signs of, like, being weak, even though we're approaching the point in a fight where I'd be like, okay, maybe we're getting close, you know? Eh. And, you know, I'll make a point, too, that this is, like, one of the most just crap arenas to fight a Rathalos in. I'm happy to get that tail cut, but I still feel like we're on the verge of, maybe we're going to start getting all the breaks that I kind of expect to see around this point in time. Yeah, okay. Maybe I've been doing some general damage that is now kind of accumulating in a better outcome for me. Oh. Oh, Jarvis. I don't know. Where'd he go? Did he go here? Let's run through some areas. I didn't watch the shadow. Hey, nice. I got lucky. Yeah, we'll see what happens here. I don't know. I don't want to fail. I don't like inherently failing on a fight that I'm regularly pretty comfortable with. But, you know, if I do, c'est la vie, I guess. Seriously, bro? Like, again? Unless you're going to 8. If you're going to 8, I'm happy. If you're going somewhere else, I am not. Okay, looks like we're going to 8. Maybe we're further ahead on this fight than I was thinking. I mean, despite the fact that I've carded, I feel like I've gotten some decent hits in. I don't know. Okay, so he's a ragey boy right now. Might be best to just play it a little safe here. I don't know. Although I'm not going to get there in this episode, clearly. There's a, the urgent quest for this rank. I'm really not excited about. I think, you know, okay, I'm a little bit happier than I would have been in Unite. In Unite, you know, around this point in time, you have to do the 2 T-Rex hunts. And double T-Rex sucks. Not a fun fight. Especially at the same time in, like, slightly cramped areas with chip damage. Fighting 2 T-Rex with chip damage is actually, like, my worst nightmare. This one, we had to do a double hunt of, Zinogre. And I don't know, I feel like that's slightly better. Watch, like, I died 10 million times or something. But I feel like it's not as, crazy. Oh. I hate how crap the flash bomb is in the old games. Like, that's something that, you know, a legitimate critique. I think the old games have a lot of amazing things going for them. Nonetheless, the weapon designs. Whatever. That's all great stuff. But, like, flash bombs, I feel like you need to tape them to the forehead of the monster to have any effectiveness. And it's like, come on now. This is a stun bomb that's very clearly making this big explosion. A lot of lights flashing everywhere. Can we just, like... Oh no. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to get trampled or poisoned either. That won't be good for me. Yeah, now I have to play cautious Monster Hunter. Because, yeah, I don't want to insta-die to a fireball. And I recognize that it is a stark possibility. You know, but conversely, yeah, I still got to go in there and get hits, so... How is it going to work out? Again, I keep on doing these fights where, like, I know I'm going in with a disadvantage. You know, even like when I was doing the Nargacuga fight from the other video. I knew going in there with low rank gear was not, you know, to my benefit. I knew, you know, that's going to make me take hits way harder. It's going to be really difficult to manage things. I don't know why I'm over here. Oh, okay. Wrong move. Zigged when I should have zagged. Let's get back in there. Yeah, I'm going to be very pick and poke right now. I'm going to take, you know, my 1 or 2 hits and then kind of get out. Because I just don't trust the viability of not getting destroyed with 1 random hit. Especially because there's like a damage multiplier when monsters are raged. Now he's out of that, so that's convenient. Oh. And the damage multiplier for these old games is frankly obnoxious for when they're in rage. And I think there's another point to make there too, is that because this is actually a Japanese only title, we're just playing with an English translation mod on top of it. I think the Japanese games have an even higher rage modifier, if I'm correct. They, as I understand it, these games get tuned down a bit for North American players. And then the Japanese releases, they are as brutal as they want to be. Okay, seriously? Like, what is happening here? Oh, am I in the... Okay, I'm very wrong position. Now I gotta be dodging this Arzuros while I try and finish up this Rathlos hunt. It's nice when you can keep them both in frame, but that's pretty tough. It is nice when you can use a monster as a fireball shield. So if I can keep the Arzuros between me and this guy circumstantially, that's, you know, it's not a bad thing. Oh, what the heck? I was a million miles away from you. Okay, not good. Just because I really kind of have to try and keep my health as full as possible, just in case I accidentally catch a fireball. Now again, you know, that's the use of the Arzuros shield method. And very useful. Come on, let me get out of here. Great. Now that would be a good opportunity had I been there to get in some attacks on this Rathlos, but it just wasn't viable. I wasn't going to run around the whole thing and... I'll try and get some hits in there where I can. Oh my god. Literally just get off my butt. Arzuros. Off my butt. Off. Alright. Great. Now, Rathlos is leaving again to go to 8, which means, again, it either needs a rest or it's in trouble. So, we're gonna go. We'll hope it's okay. Man, those insects make some weird noises. If insects made noises like that in real life, like everyone would be opposed to them. Oh, okay. I was hoping he would be asleep when we got here. Oh, his fire is not working. All right. So, again, we're playing it very cautiously because I don't want to be one-shot killed. If he commits to an attack, we will we'll dive in. Kind of jump to dodge that roar because I just want my maneuverability. Don't want to get pinned. That would be very bad. You gonna try and fireball? No? Okay. Here, we can take a hit or two on that. Okay, now what are you gonna do here, bud? You can tell I have to really focus because I'm no longer talking about random political crap. I'm, all of my brain cells are on trying to finish this fight without getting insta-killed by another fireball. Oh, okay, now we're in a dangerous situation. I'm gonna try and go through here. Oh, okay. I hate to waste great hits, but it's worth it to heal. All right, let's get out of here. Oh, do I not have any herbs left? Okay, I just have a lot of stuff in my inventory. I don't know if that little bit of damage would be enough to make the difference, you know? Oh, okay, we need to paintball this guy again. Like, hopefully this is our last arena with him, but you never know. Oh, damn it. Okay, now he's going to probably get a hit on me because I'm stunned. Yep, and there we go. All that effort wasted. Damn it. You hate to see it. All right, well, on that great disappointment, I guess that's the end of this episode. I might do some more weapon grinding in between and then consider what my next set should be, because obviously fighting Rathlos in a set that has, you know, incredibly low fire resistance, you know, -4, I'm actively taking more damage from it than I should. I don't know, maybe I should consider building like some earplugs or something like that, because I'm just tired of getting affected by the roars and I can't always roll out of the way. So thanks for watching this episode. We will continue with some high rank Monster Hunter next time around. Hope you have a good one. Bye.